Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Berrien Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, BUF, or Berrien UU for short. My name is Lisa Fuller, and I'm filling in this weekend for our minister, Reverend Jim McConnell, who is traveling to California with his wife to visit his son and his son's family. For every person searching for community or spiritual meeting, Berrien UU offers a welcoming and caring religious community dedicated to diversity of thought, social and environmental justice, and peace for all. Refreshments will follow the service in the adjacent fellowship hall, and all are invited to partake and socialize. After 15 minutes or so, the bell will ring, and those who are interested are welcome to rejoin in the sanctuary and on Zoom for an informal discussion of the service. Liz, would you light the chalice for me while I read these words? The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It represents the light of reason, warmth of community, and the flame of hope. As we light our chalice today, please follow the words on our screen and join me in this call and response. By our sixth UU principle, we yearn for and work toward a goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. We believe in working for world peace. Got that? Whoops. The next line will be, may peace preside in the world. So our prayer today is for a peaceful end to the invasion of Ukraine. May peace preside in our world. May it be so. We hold the people of Ukraine in our hearts. Amen. The living tradition of Unitarian Universalism is built on 7 principles and 6 sources. UUs generally hold the 7 principles as our values and strong moral guides. The 6 sources are where UUs find our wisdom and our spirituality. Today and next Sunday, we're calling attention to these 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Where many religions are based on a single creedal text, such as the Christian Bible, the Hebrew Torah, or the Muslim Quran, Unitarian Universalists live out our principles within a living tradition open to change. And they're drawn from sources such as science, poetry, personal experience, as well as the Bible and other sacred texts. The 6 sources that our Unitarian Universalist congregations affirm and promote include the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, which moves us to a renewal of a spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. The second source are words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront the powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. The third source is wisdom from world's religions. They inspire us in our ethical and spiritual lives. The fourth source are Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. The fifth source, humanist teachings, counsel us to heed the guidance of reason, the results of science. And the sixth source is spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Tomorrow, or actually today, March 20th at about 11:32 a.m. is the official spring equinox, a time described by science as when the Earth's orientation in space, because of the Earth's orientation in space, the rays of the sun fall directly at the equator. When the rays of the sun fall directly on the equator, neither the Earth's North Pole nor its South Pole is tilted toward the sun. Therefore, The whole earth experiences a day when daylight and darkness are exactly the same amount of time. And this is called the equinox, and it happens twice a year, once in March and again in September. In the northern hemisphere where we live, when the earth starts to tilt toward the sun, it means longer, sunnier days. And in the northern hemisphere, the March equinox is called the vernal equinox because vernal means fresh and new, like spring. In the earth-centered tradition of Wicca, a modern form of paganism, an earth-centered tradition, Ostara is a holiday celebrating the spring equinox. The word Ostara represents spring and new beginnings. In Greek mythology, the vernal equinox is the day when Persephone delights her mother, Demeter, and returns to earth from the underworld. And today we're going to honor the pagan celebration of Ostara, plus visit the ancient Greek mythology of Demeter and Persephone as we celebrate the balance of light and darkness and our entry into the light.
Happy Sunday. It's Harvey and Tricia Johnson. We have a chant for the season. It's almost spring. Please join along. The lyrics will be on your screen. It's a call and response. And here we go. Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Sharp the smell of bloom, bursting in our eyes, the turrets of the tulips.
Sharp the smell of bloom, bursting in our eyes, the turrets of the tulip.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Green is the grass, soft upon our brows, the sunlight warm caresses.
Green is the grass, soft upon our brows, the sunlight warm caresses.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Winter rains have turned the star wheels. Springtime is upon us.
Happy spring.
Happy spring.
Happy spring. Please join me now in reading the words of our affirmation as they appear on the screen and in the sanctuary. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We take time each Sunday to hear announcements for the good of the community. I'll begin. Joanne is out of town this week. She, Terry, and Lois traveled to North Carolina for a UU youth convention. It's a family gathering of UUs. And she left for us, of course, she left something for us to do, and that is the sign-up sheets along the wall here, the north wall. And we've got our annual cabaret, which we haven't done in a couple of years because of the pandemic, but it returns in April. And so we're looking for performers And we're also looking for volunteers to assist with the cabaret in other ways. And so, thank you. The cabaret is not in April, as I mentioned, it's in May. So keep it on your radar. And if those who are here could please take a look at the sign-up sheets. And performances at the cabaret can be anything from a simple reading or a joke to a sketch with a couple of your buddies, or a song performance. And then if you'd like to perform but don't want to be on the stage by yourself, Beth LaFleur is putting together some group performances. And so she will love to include you in one of those. Also, the New Moon Women's Circle meets online and in person at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, March 31st. And all buffers who are called to their feminine selves are welcome to attend. And then 2 weeks from today, there will be a luncheon hosted by our Green Sanctuary team following the April 3rd service. So they are going to be providing a vegetarian, the Green Sanctuary and ethical eating teams are going to be providing a vegetarian and vegan luncheon. And it'll be the first time that buffers have really gotten together for a social meal in a very, very long time. And so we hope that many of you will join. Are there any other announcements for the good of the community?
Good morning, all. Good morning. I'm Harvey Johnson, board president. Just to let you know, the board is meeting tomorrow night. And if there's things that you think we should be doing that we're not, let me know. You probably don't want to attend. It's not that interesting, but you could if you wanted to. Thursday evening at 7, the Green Sanctuary team will be meeting via Zoom, which I am also on. And you are welcome if you're not on our Green Sanctuary mailing list. If you're interested, you could let me know and we'll get you a Zoom invite. The Green Sanctuary team tries to think of ways to make this fellowship more sustainable. We think about planting gardens and things. We've got a new garden that'll be sprouting. I think the little tulips and daffodils are showing out here. We do things like that. What else do we do? Make sure the solar panels keep working. Anyway, items like that. Anyway, just to let you know what's going on.
Anyone on Zoom have an announcement for us? All right, at this time, to honor the pagan celebration of Ostara, we are going to call the directions. These ritual words for calling the directions come from Jason Mankey. I'm going to read an introduction, and then I have helpers who are going to help us face and call in each direction. Winter now stands behind us, and before us lies the promise of spring. The maiden walks the land once more, awakening all that is in her path. Welcome back the light, welcome back the sun, welcome back the spring. So if everyone please rise in body or spirit, and we'll turn to the east. My east, thank you.
East, we call to the warm winds of the east. Blow away the winter cold and join us in the circle today. Blessed be.
Now we turn to the south.
South, we call the bright sun of the south. Melt away the last snows of winter and join us in our circle today.
And then to the west.
We are facing the quilts. We call to the rushing waters of the west take away the last of winter's cold and join us in our circle today. Blessed be.
And the north.
We call to the green glowing earth of the north. Free the ground from the icy cold and join us in our circle today. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Thank you. You may be seated. Each of us comes to service today with joys to lift and concerns to share, that their burden may be lightened. We begin with the children. Thank you. Althea? Deep breath. Deep breath.
And joyful that we are saved, so kind and always.
Althea is thankful that we are safe, kind, and respectful. What a joy. And Coraline? And Coraline is joyful for spring, as so many of us are. And now we move to adults. Are there any joys to be lifted, sorrows to be shared?
It's been a long week. I have a lot of families who at school have lost very close family members in a number of homicides in Benton Harbor this week. And then on the other side of it, my husband has teched all of those homicides. So it's been really, it's been a real violent week. So just lifting a number of families up in our hearts.
We hold those families in our hearts. Thank you. And June, and then Ishmael.
Yes, my joy is that after almost 2 months without a refrigerator, a new refrigerator was delivered yesterday. Unfortunately, it was not exactly what I'd ordered, but that one got left until the replacement can be delivered, which who knows when that'll be. So I now have a real refrigerator again, instead of the cooler that I first used and then the mini refrigerator that my son brought for me. So that's a great joy. Thank you.
Thank you, June. And Ishmael?
Yeah, I just want to say my joy is I already seen 2 rainbows today. One on the left foot, one on the right foot.
Lovely. I'm not sure I understand that reference. Do you want to share?
Oh, that's
more?
I can't really what's her name sitting down right next to you?
Oh. Pride socks, also known as the left rainbow and the right rainbow. You have a good eye, David. Are there other joys and concerns this morning?
I just want to say that I'm happy that so many of the books I brought in last Sunday have gone to somebody's home. And just to let you know that there's still more available, so help yourself. And I'll leave them up for one more Sunday, and then if anything's left, I'll find another place for them. So I think those books are from little ones up through about 4th grade, maybe 5th grade reading level. So anytime. They're very old. My kids were in elementary school in the 1970s, so it's a while ago.
I just want to thank everyone who wished me a happy birthday a couple of weeks ago. And yesterday was my last child to leave home. So now I can relax and enjoy the coming of spring. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I just have a quick PSA about the whole daffodils and lilies. Those are actually toxic to most animals and can kill even things like horses and goats and dogs and cats. So just be careful out there. Keep your dogs away from them.
Thank you. We hold those joys and concerns shared here today and those left unspoken in our hearts. Please join me now in reading the words of our offering. They appear on your screen. This fellowship is the community of ourselves. Its resources are our resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we burn our lives within it. Our pianist today is Judy Peelle. She and her husband Tom are new to the congregation. They recently relocated from their beautiful home in Allegan, which Tom built by hand, to a new home in South Haven. And they have been joining us here at Buff. And we're happy to have Judy on the piano today. Thank you, Judy. Those who are in the sanctuary this morning, and perhaps you on Zoom, can see that the sanctuary is set up a little differently today in honor of the equinox. Today, we will all be players in a greatly simplified version of the myth of Demeter and Persephone. This short play takes various versions of the ancient Greek myth and meets them somewhere in the middle. Everyone in the sanctuary will have a role to play, and I'll go through those in just a second. And those joining from home are invited to play 2 roles. So I, Lisa Fuller, am serving as your director and your narrator. And I just have a couple of director's notes to clarify. Who is my soul number 1? That's Ada or Iris? That's Ada. And Iris, you were soul number 2. Okay. And then Vanessa, soul number 3. And Todd, welcome to Buff. He jumped right in with both feet and agreed to serve as soul number 4. All right. So the last thing I need is a boom operator. So every director has to have somebody who's going to assist with a microphone, right? So I need someone who's not. Are you playing a role? Yeah. You're people. Okay, you can also be the boom operator. All right, so Liz is going to be our boom operator. So Liz, just listen along and I'll direct you where to pass the mic, okay? Okay, so I am at the pulpit now. How's my sound? My sound is good. Okay, how's the sound? Better? Okay, very good. All right. So when you came into the sanctuary, those who are here in the building, if you sat in a chair that said that you were going to be a plant, raise your hand. Where are my plants? Okay. All right, when plants are mentioned in our play, just listen along to the script, and you are either going to be growing tall. Can you practice growing tall? Growing tall, or drooping sadly. Very good. Okay, and then those in the sanctuary who are people or souls, and those at home, I want you to serve as both people and souls, because we're going to need to fill in a little bit. So when the people on earth, oh, and I need to orient you to our stage. So on the north side of the sanctuary, we have beautiful flowering earth. And on the south side of the sanctuary, we have dark, cold underworld. Our beautiful flowering earth is presided by our lovely Demeter, Nan, and our beautiful Persephone, Dorothy. And presiding on in our underworld side is the dark and grumpy Hades. Okay. All right. So when people on earth or souls in the underworld, so where are my people? Okay, very good. And then where are my souls? Okay, very good. All right, so when people on earth are mentioned, you will listen to the narrator and express either happiness or sadness. And souls, I'm sorry to say, you are always sad. And so you may demonstrate your sadness in any way that you would like. And you will also be cold, so you might be shivering. Okay, so Demeter is wearing the green scarf, and when she is mentioned, she will either be walking around, watering her gardens, or sadly missing her daughter. Hades is wearing this dark cape, and when he is mentioned, he will be grumpy and unwielding. Persephone, our beautiful maiden, wearing the purple scarf, and when she is mentioned, she will be joyous on earth, but, spoiler alert, sad in the underworld. So just pay attention to the narration and follow along. So our stage is the entire room. And on this side is the cold, dark underworld. And on that side is the warm and flowering earth. Once there was no winter. It was always summer. Plants grew. They grew and they swayed in the breezes. And Demeter, goddess of living things, happily watered the plants. Plants need to go through cycles, so they would droop, the plants droop, and then they would grow again right away. Demeter loved watching her plants grow and droop in their unceasing rhythms. She had many children and loved them all, but her favorite was the joyful and kind Persephone. Persephone loved to dance. She loved to dance and flow among the plants, and everyone who saw her, people, plants, and souls, Hades, everyone sighed at her beautiful face. She was kindness and light. Everyone saw that Persephone was kind and treated all things with respect. Everyone loved Persephone, but her mother Demeter loved her most of all. And they showed great love to each other. While Demeter watered and fed the many plants on earth so that they would grow tall, she watched proudly as Persephone danced and collected flowers. But Demeter was not the only one watching Persephone. From his opening in the underworld, Hades parted the air to scowl and watch Persephone too. He crept up to the edges of the underworld. Hades was not a happy fellow. How could he be? His underworld home was dark and cold and gloomy, and his job, taking lost souls from the earth down to the underworld, yes, those lost souls, so cold and so sad, so sad. His job had little joy in it, so no wonder he was so grumpy. But Hades, watching Persephone and her beautiful joyfulness, fell in love, but he was still unhappy. He scowled at the unhappy lost souls shivering and crying around him. Oh. Finally, Hades crossed over to Earth. He left his chair and walked through the underworld. He wanted to convince Persephone to return to the underworld with him. Persephone was collecting her flowers in the sunshine when she saw Hades among the growing plants. She greeted him and wanted to know who he was. Hello, who are you? Hades gazed silently at Persephone. He didn't have the words to speak at that time. The only thing he knew was how to take souls to the underworld, whether they wanted to go or not. So he did the only thing he understood. He wrapped his cold, clammy arms around Persephone and dragged her to his underworld home. In the underworld, Persephone looked around. She saw the sad, shivering souls there. Their sad faces made her become sad and frightened. Meanwhile, on Earth, Demeter sensed something was wrong. Persephone was missing. She stopped watering her plants. She searched the horizon for the sight of her daughter, wanting to be reassured that she was mistaken. But she was not mistaken. She knew in her heart Hades had taken her beautiful Persephone to the underworld. Demeter collapsed, missing her daughter. She wailed in sadness, missing her daughter and calling her by name.
Oh, Persephone,
Her daughter was gone.
Persephone.
Neglected by Demeter, the plants lost their leaves and drooped. They withered, they died. With the goddess of living things, sad and distracted, the sun hid its face and the earth became cold. People on earth grew cold and shivered, and they were so miserable. They moaned as they began to get hungry. The plants continued to droop. There was no food, and Demeter continued to hang her head sadly. Her only concern was that her daughter return to her. Persephone cried and cried. She was sad and frightened in the dark, cold underworld. When Persephone had no more tears, she lifted her head and looked around. The unhappy souls of people who had died were all looking at her and still feeling so scared and sad and cold. Despite her own fears, Persephone felt sorry for the souls and tried to reassure them while they cried.
Don't cry. It'll be all right.
The souls sniffed away their tears, and soul number one said,
How did someone like you get down here?
Persephone replied,
Hades brought me, and I don't know how to leave.
soul number two, Iris,
Would it help to eat? I have some black dirt. Oh,
she offered the only thing she had, just some black dirt from the underworld. But Persephone said,
No, thank you. I'm not hungry.
soul number three, Vanessa,
Tell us what it is like on Earth now.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Persephone told the souls about the flowers in the field, and they all sighed with happiness. They remembered Earth and could see its beauty in Persephone.
Oh, how I wish we could all return to Earth.
Then Hades came walking through. The souls had to shift to get out of his way. No one wanted to be in the gaze of Hades. But Persephone stood up tall and told Hades she wanted to go home.
Hades, I must go. You must take me home.
Hades did not want Persephone to go, though. He wanted to marry her.
No, I like you here. Marry me, Persephone. Be my queen of the underworld. I know I can make you happy.
How can you make me happy in this dark place? There's no sun, no flowers. I miss my mother on Earth.
Let me try. You make me happy.
You don't look happy.
Well, you make me less unhappy then.
Hades tried to turn his mouth into a smile as he walked away. Persephone looked around. She was concerned about those sad, shivering souls, but she did not want to be in this cold, dark place. She faced Hades and demanded to go home.
I must go home. You have no reason to keep me here.
But I want you here with me, Persephone. You are beautiful and kind and good. You bring sunshine to my dark home.
That is all well and good, but I don't.
That's all well and good, but I really don't belong here.
Perhaps if you ate something.
Persephone, expecting more dirt. Hades held out his hand and offered a pomegranate. Persephone was hungry and the pomegranate was beautiful, so she accepted the food and she ate 4 of the delicious seeds. Then she remembered her home on earth and pushed the pomegranate away.
That is all well and good, but I really don't belong here. No, I must go home.
Hades was sad that Persephone wanted to leave, but he knew that because she had eaten the pomegranate seeds, that even if she left, she would have to return. Persephone didn't know this, and her heart was softening for Hades. She tried to reassure him.
It's not that you haven't been good to me, Hades. It's just,
I know. The underworld is just not your home. Nobody ever wants to stay here. Go if you must.
So Hades allowed Persephone to use the opening to return to Earth. She parted the air and looked around for Demeter, her mother. And when they saw each other, they rejoiced and hugged happily. Demeter was so happy to see her daughter. She cried, "My daughter has returned. May all the earth rejoice." And the plants began to turn green again. And they grew and the people cheered. Yay! Demeter whispered, "I'm so glad you're home, Persephone. That was such a horrid thing for Hades to do." Persephone, though, stepped away from her mother and thought of those she had left behind. She could still hear the unhappy souls moaning and crying, and she wanted so much to help them. "I'm glad to be home, Mother, but I must return." Demeter was horrified. She did not want her to leave. No, must stay here. "You don't belong in such an ugly place," she declared. Well, Persephone told her mother, "The souls do not deserve to be in such an ugly place either. They need me, Mother. They're losing hope and I can help them." Demeter congratulated Persephone on becoming a wise woman.
Good for you, Persephone. Good for you.
She said, "Stay with me for a time, only a short while. And then if you still feel you must go, you can return." So Persephone left to go back to Hades and to help the lost souls for 1/3 of each year. While she is gone, her mother Demeter becomes sad and stops watering the plants, and they droop again. The season turns to winter and the earth is cold and dark until her daughter returns in the spring. And in the underworld, Persephone's kindness and love helps the lost souls that were once bound, but now have hope of being free and living again. Let's give ourselves and our players a big hand. Thank you to our boom operator. And now Demeter will read her poem.
Do some of you children remember planting bulbs last fall in the ground outside? Do you remember that? Yeah. And they are going to be coming up. Maybe some of them are already coming up and will become flowers. And maybe one of the flowers that you planted was called a crocus. And those are often purple. They're different colors too, yellow, but this poem at the end has in it a purple crocus. So listen and see if you can recognize it. This is called Demeter's Prayer. My snow-weary breast longs for your rivulets, calls out for your tears, whether sad with farewell to your underworld or wet with joy at the thought of wildflowers. My own tears, ice. Seeds stir beneath my skin, quickening like tea leaves in a warming pot. And still the frigid winds drive out the southerly breeze, cracking my old face where not even a beetle climbs. Persephone, don't you feel the oak's branches swelling with buds, pushing to burst the tough skin of winter, longing to be warmed by your loving, green-giving spring sun, pregnant with promise? Daughter, return. Upon our equal day and night, our balance on this unseen string among the stars depends. I entreat you, thrust your purple head once again through my cold, heavy breast, that I may wonder at your power.
Thank you. Nan was reading from her book, Gaia. Gaia's call, cry, Gaia's cry, cry of earth. All right, we are approaching the end of our service. And since we called in the directions and asked them to join us today, we now need to release them back into the world. And so we do that in the opposite order of which we called. And so we are going to begin by facing north.
Hail to north, hail to earth, go if you must, stay if you will. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Hail to the west, hail to the water. Go if you must, stay if you will. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Thank you.
Hail to the south, hail to the south, hail to the fire. Go if you must, stay if you will. Blessed be.
Thank you. And north.
East. This is how we get lost. Hail the east, hail the air. Go if you must, stay if you will. Blessed be.
Thank you. If the weather rises into a tumult, you'll know who to blame. Demeter and Persephone, from the earth-centered tradition of Greek mythology, echoes our Christian universalism roots, which declare all people are worthy of being saved from a cold, dark, sad existence. And acknowledging the seasons brings us closer to our pagan siblings. Winter's end is spring's beginning. Go now with love in your hearts. The earth will soon be growing. Blessed be, may it be so. And now our closing song. Go, faith. Thank you, friends. Go in peace. Many thanks to everyone for participating in today's service.